Isn't it rich that The View is saying she got the job based on looks when DEI is all about based on looks?
She's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though. It's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
These despicable women on The View, they are wildly out of touch with the vast majority of Americans, and frankly, they should seek immediate help.
The View hosts in panic mode as $800 million lawsuit heats up. What started as laughter has now turned into desperation. For weeks, the ladies of The View brushed off Karoline Leavitt's staggering $800 million lawsuit, treating it like a punchline. They laughed. They rolled their eyes. They pretended it didn't matter. But now, they're scrambling, pleading for her to back down. So what changed? And what does this mean for ABC and The View's leading ladies? Initially, the hosts met the lawsuit with smug dismissal. Leavitt's claims were mocked and shrugged off as just another political ploy from the right. Joy Behar, never one to filter her opinions, waved it off, sneering that it was just another conservative playing the victim card. Whoopi Goldberg, no stranger to public outrage, barely blinked. "Please," she scoffed. "We've seen worse. This'll blow over by next week." To reinforce their confidence, legal analyst Sunny Hostin chimed in. Cool and collected, she told viewers that the case was dead on arrival. "This lawsuit has no foundation," she said firmly, insisting it would be tossed out almost immediately.
For me, and sort of lived lives of dreams deferred and poured everything in me, and just my life, how I transitioned from college. I went to college when I was 16, high school when I was 12, the struggle of that, and my career as a federal prosecutor, and then how I found my way.
For a brief moment, it looked like their strategy of brushing it all off was actually working. Major media giants like CNN and MSNBC quickly jumped on the bandwagon, branding the $800 million lawsuit as laughable and lacking merit. Legal commentators chimed in, too, describing the case as a desperate move meant to muzzle free speech. Further, fueling The View hosts' confidence that this controversy would fade into the background. Everything seemed to point to one conclusion: this storm would pass, and fast.
They really don't like this woman. She's a good communicator. And so Joy Behar just offered her analysis on why Leavitt was picked for the role.
And Donald Trump, who you work for.
I am stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay,
now,
I'm sorry, guys. We're going to come back out to the panel. Karoline, thank you very much for your time.
That was so good.
ABC in crisis mode as legal pressure mounts behind the scenes. While the women of The View kept up their playful jabs and dismissive tone on camera, things behind the curtain at ABC told a very different story. Privately, ABC's legal department wasn't laughing. In fact, they were deeply concerned, and for good reason. They recognized what the hosts hadn't. The stakes were massive, and this lawsuit wasn't going away quietly. As the hosts continued to joke and minimize the lawsuit publicly, ABC's lawyers were in full damage control mode. They saw Karoline Leavitt's $800 million legal assault not as a publicity stunt, but as a well-constructed case rooted in strong evidence. "We handle every legal matter with full seriousness and professionalism," the network's legal team stated. This is no exception. Sources close to the situation revealed the lawsuit includes documented proof, first-hand witness accounts, and a well-defined case accusing the show of defamation, hostile work conditions, and intentional harm. "This isn't something we can just joke about," one insider admitted. "This has serious teeth."
I have to stop you with the camera because I can see you. So do me a favor, don't pull it out again. I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
ABC and meltdown as $800 million lawsuit sends The View into chaos. What started as laughter has turned into an all-out corporate panic. Weeks ago, the View cast waved off Karoline Leavitt's jaw-dropping $800 million lawsuit like it was a bad joke. They smirked. They joked. They moved on. But now, the same women who mocked it are reportedly begging her to let it go. So what flipped the script so fast? And is ABC bracing for its biggest scandal yet? At first, the hosts acted like the lawsuit was beneath them. Karoline's claims were ridiculed as another conservative publicity stunt. Joy Behar rolled her eyes and cracked that it was just another victim act. Whoopi Goldberg shrugged, saying, "We've dealt with worse. This'll be old news by next week." And to make their confidence clear, legal analyst Sunny Hostin chimed in, "This won't go anywhere. There's no legal foundation for this." They believed it would vanish like every other controversy. And for a while, it seemed like they were right. Mainstream outlets like CNN and MSNBC echoed their tone, dismissing the lawsuit as frivolous, and labeling it a blatant attempt to silence free speech. Analysts weighed in, insisting it would be tossed immediately. The View's hosts doubled down, growing even more confident that the case would die quietly. But inside ABC headquarters, things were far from calm. Behind closed doors, ABC's legal team was already in overdrive. Unlike the show's panel, the network's attorneys weren't cracking jokes. They were sounding the alarm. To them, Leavitt's lawsuit wasn't a joke. It was a legitimate legal threat with serious implications. "This is a real issue," an insider said. "We're treating it with full seriousness and care." The evidence backing the lawsuit? Reportedly substantial. It included internal documents, eyewitness accounts, and a structured case outlining claims of defamation, workplace toxicity, and intent to harm. This wasn't just bad press, it was a legal grenade, and that's when things escalated behind the scenes. ABC's top brass hit the panic button. If this lawsuit ever reached trial, it could open the floodgates. Private emails, internal decisions, and sensitive conversations could all be exposed in court. That's a level of transparency the network simply couldn't afford. Executives quickly divided into two camps. One group wanted to go to court and fight tooth and nail, but another, more cautious side was terrified of what might come out and began pushing for a quiet settlement. Meanwhile, the View hosts remained in the dark, still treating it all like tabloid fodder. "They still think this is a joke," one exec revealed, "but we're already moving without their knowledge." Then came the tipping point. When the cast found out that ABC was considering negotiating with Karoline Leavitt, all hell broke loose. Whoopi Goldberg, the longtime anchor of the show, was furious. After weeks of mocking the lawsuit, the idea of settling felt like betrayal.
Divisive and disgusting speech that any president, certainly in my lifetime, has ever given. He essentially waged war on half of the country by saying that we are all a threat to democracy because we believe in putting America first. It's not radical to want to put your country and your own people first. It's not radical to want to have a strong border, a strong military, and to unleash the might of your own economy, not economies around the world. You know, we have seen cultural Marxism trickling its way through every institution in this country. The public school system, the higher education university system, Hollywood, big tech, the corrupt mainstream media that I fought against in President Trump's White House are indoctrinating my generation of Americans into hating our country, hating one another based on race and gender and sex and all of this other BS, quite frankly.
Closed-door meeting, she reportedly shouted, "Are you serious? We're actually taking her seriously now?" To Whoopi, this was personal. She had survived every controversy thrown her way. Yet now ABC was ready to cave. Joy Behar didn't take it any better. She stormed into her dressing room, slammed her makeup kit down, and fumed. "We built this show. We made this network money. And now they're folding over some dumb lawsuit?" She wasn't going down without a fight. Even Sunny Hostin, typically composed and logical, was shaken. As a former prosecutor, she understood what was in play. She had seen the court documents. She knew the evidence. And worst of all, she realized they could all be dragged into the courtroom. Every word they'd said on and off air could come back to haunt them. This was no longer just a legal issue. It was a full-blown PR crisis. And then came the moment no one expected. The View suddenly changed its tone. Live on air. Gone were the jokes. Gone was the sarcasm. Instead, Whoopi opened the segment somberly, shaking her head. "I think we all need to take a breath. There's been too much hostility. This isn't helping anyone." It was an obvious attempt to walk back earlier remarks. Joy, who once laughed off the lawsuit, suddenly asked, "Why does this have to go so far? Can't we just sit down and talk this out?" And Sunny? She looked straight into the camera and said carefully, "Karoline, if you're watching, there may be a better way to resolve this without dragging it through court. Maybe it's time to find common ground." It was one of the most stunning reversals in modern television. The same women who mocked Karoline Leavitt just weeks earlier were now making public pleas for a resolution. But let's be honest, this wasn't about unity, this was about self-preservation. ABC's legal team reportedly warned the hosts, if this case moves forward, everything could be laid bare. The internal workings of The View, The emails, the call logs, the personal comments. It could all be dragged into the public spotlight. And social media? It exploded. Viewers weren't buying the sudden shift in tone. For weeks, the hosts laughed at Karoline Leavitt. Now they wanted mercy? Thousands flooded The View's official pages with backlash. One viral comment summed it up perfectly. If you weren't guilty, you wouldn't be begging. Memes went wild. One showed Whoopi looking panicked next to a screenshot of her mocking the lawsuit just days earlier. Another had Joy Behar stumbling through her apology, captioned, "When the check's on the line." Conservative outlets seized the moment. Fox News aired segments highlighting the host's flip-flop. The Daily Wire published scathing pieces about the hypocrisy. And independent YouTubers jumped in, calling it the worst case of damage control in recent memory. By the time the apology aired, the damage was done. Viewers weren't fooled. Ratings were already tanking. Advertisers started backing away. And inside ABC, the word was clear. This lawsuit had gone from manageable to disastrous. If Karoline Leavitt pushes forward, and this heads to court, The View could be torn wide open, careers could end, reputations could shatter. And here's the kicker, Karoline isn't backing down. The more The View pleads, the more powerful she looks. The show that once laughed her off is now unraveling. This isn't just another lawsuit. This might be the scandal that brings The View to its knees. So what do you think? Will The View survive this? Or is Karoline Leavitt on her way to scoring the most shocking win in daytime TV history? Sound off in the comments and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more breaking updates as this story unfolds.